I'm ready to go live.
Let's see.
Ready.
Okay, it says in stream, so we must be live.
Oh,
It
okay.
wouldn't have a I didn't see a thing that said we were live, but oh yeah, we are. We are.
I've got my camera pulled back, hopefully, so you can see more of my desk today. It's
Excellent,
flatter
excellent.
because
We're for people joining us later on, we're going to when we are joined by another guy, we're going to talk about our favorite artists and our biggest influences.
yeah.
So that's
I
to
should
come.
I should hide this.
Yeah, hide those Sid Mead books.
Hide the Sid Mead books. Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
and the X Men. I've got other stuff. I brought three. Did you bring three?
I brought just some browsables that I'll share my screen of some stuff under a folder I call Frazetta Surfing, where I just can't keep myself from right click saving
Oh
Frank
my gosh,
Frazetta.
dude! I had so much stuff at my work. I had a folder called Artist, and it was just and
Yeah.
it was 100 different artist folders, and it was, and it wasn't. Some of it was quite a few images, but most of it was just stuff. When we were idle at work, I would surf the web, looking, and Pinterest has kind of filled part of that niche, but I don't like it as much. I like having it local,
Well, that is
you know.
nice about Pinterest. That, and they talk about, before you start on something, why don't you go to one of these things like Pinterest and just throw everything into a big barrel and say, this is all the stuff I'm going to be drawing as I start this project, and and do that much research, and that's a great idea,
I
and I
think
should
this
do it
this
more
must
often.
this must be Dan.
It is. He says, "What the hop's happening this evening? What the hap's happening?"
You missed. It was off air, but I was telling the story of my how all the medical chaos in my household. I was telling Ellis, this is the first time I've been in my studio in close to 2 weeks. Wait, yeah, close to 2 weeks. No, 2 weeks.
Well, it's been since the
Wait,
last skipped thing, so it's been at least a week since
yeah,
that all
and it
happened.
everything went downhill on Monday for us.
Yeah, yeah.
So but I've told Dan some of this. My father-in-law is being transported today to Amarillo. Dan, I know that we talked about that. There's a place he's going to be in, kind of a rehab, I guess, for lack of a better word. They've got a different kind of word for it, but it's basically rehab. Hopefully, he'll be okay. They're taking him now as we speak. He should be there any minute. Um, and then Michelle had her eye surgery Tuesday, and she is recovering. Her eyes look a lot better today. And then Saturday we got to drive to probably Sayre, which is 2 hours away, to pick up. And that's why I didn't tell you. Her uncle, in the midst of all this, made plane reservations to fly here on Wednesday and fly out on Saturday. Well, meanwhile, they're like, "Oh, we're going to move him," and I go, "You guys need to tell." Which we thought they were going to move him Wednesday. I said, "You need to tell him because you don't want him to show up and his brother be in a different state, you
Yeah,
know."
yeah, that's annoying at
And it's
at
like, "Oh
best.
yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that." It's like, "Yes, you
Yeah.
should." Um. Anyway, so I don't think I'll get much drawing done tonight because we're going to talk about art
Things.
and things.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because you know, in the course of trying to break into comics, I've always been of the mind that that comics were looking for a certain style,
Hmm.
and I think I did myself a lot of disservice because early on when I sent some stuff in, several of the editors commented that they didn't like the style that I drew in. One of them said it was too cartoony, stuff like that. And so I
Hmm.
had it in my head that if I found this magical style, that they would all just fall in
Hmm.
awe of it. And I think I did myself a lot of disservice because I remember at one point I was trying to draw realistic, kind of like a Brian Hitch kind of. I don't know if you know who that is. Ellis.
No,
I think Neil Adams, kind of Neil Adams like, little bit different, but Neil Adams. And so I was trying to do, uh, yeah, that would be a thing to do. Um, my wife's through my wife's medical thing and my father-in-law's, I've decided that when they hear doctor's instructions, they're immediately looking for the loophole. You know,
yeah.
how, how can I get out of what the doctor told
Yeah.
me to do?
So
And
you mean,
yeah, what
yeah.
you really mean is this. Anyway, yeah, there's my wife has open sutures on her eyelids. There's no
Oh
band-aids or
my
anything.
goodness
So they
sakes.
told her, you've got to keep this protected. We were supposed to go shoot on Saturday in a field in the wind and dirt and grass, smoke from the guns.
Yeah.
And I told Michelle, I go, that's probably a bad idea. And so she said, well, I'll call the doctor. And the doctor's like, no, I think you need to listen to your husband.
Does Michelle dig the shooting?
Michelle digs it a lot.
Cool.
She's actually gone more than I have because she's trying to figure out what kind of gun she wants.
Last thing I just watched on YouTube was a thing on True Grit with John Wayne, and it showed a quick little scene. And I thought how cool it was. Old John is just all getting into shooting at Robert Duvall, trying to escape down at the creek.
Yeah,
and you know that scene where he's just shooting them up. And it shows each time he shoots his 30-30, Kim Darby just jumps out of her skin, because it's going off right next to her ear. I mean, she's right snugged up to old John. He's shooting that rifle. It's a great little touch. I don't know if she was actually just doing it or if that was acting or not. It just made a nice little touch. It's like, she just can't help but flinch because that rifle's going off.
Well, from experience, if you're not used to being around guns firing, and then you're in a situation where they're going off,
it'll make you involuntarily flinch. You bet. I remember my brother he thought he really wanted. It was basically a damn elephant gun. I forget. I wish I could tell you what the caliber was. And we took that down to the river and shoot it. Oh, the crazy recoil on that thing. It was just stupid. You would never want to fire it unless you just had to. And I don't know what you needed it for to kill with, because you don't need anything that big to kill a deer with. And as far as I know, that may be one of the few times he ever shot it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what became of that big old rifle, but
have you looked in the attic? It may be hidden.
No, we bagged it somewhere. He took it home. I don't know if Dad ever used it. Put it in the gun safe. Something happened to it. Maybe so. And you've got a permit. Scott is now.
I have a handgun permit.
That's
it
awesome.
Arrived in the mail today. Yeah,
that's the way to be as we go into the golden age. There'll be some residual things to be worried about. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to carry a gun, then you should. In Oklahoma, it's I don't want to say it's fairly easy, but it's fairly painless. It's not cheap.
Yeah, Bigfoots might call for a big caliber. Yeah, it's it's a thing I would dig having one, but I would be very self-conscious about, I would want it concealed, but then I'd have to figure out, how do I conceal it? I don't.
Was it a rifle?
No. I mean, if I had what you have, a permit where I could go walk around with a handgun, what have you got figured out for how you're going to carry it? Well, are you going to carry it often?
No. The guy that we're with that is training us, which Michelle and I are undergoing additional training besides what the state requires.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason we're doing it is for security at our church. And at the church, I'll wear it on my hip, but probably covered by my shirt or jacket.
Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden now you're a Hawaiian shirt guy. And freedom of speech.
And freedom of speech. I generally wear my shirt untucked, and I wear a shirt with a collar to church. And if somebody sees
Oh,
it,
that
they'll see
that
it.
is a good place to have a gun in church. Is to be ready for these
Yeah.
people that are going to walk in off the street and shoot up the
Yep.
Christians, basically.
Well, it's just a concern. I mean, I hope to God it never happens.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
But and there's some other aspects of this training about like kind of first aid kind of stuff. So that'll be good too.
Hmm.
Um, and it started because somebody that goes to our church, their son's a minister, and they were threatened. So and they kind of became concerned about this is something we should think about. Um, so there, I'll wear that. I'll wear it there. I've got a in waistband holster that I can carry it in the small of my back if I'm out and I want to carry it concealed. And
Hmm.
I'm probably going to get some sort of bag that I can stick it in. I've got one, but they have them that have a holster built into them.
Have you seen this semi-viral clip of this? They're making a big deal of it because it's a woman officer that this guy has identified himself as having a pistol on himself. So they're taking him out of the car and going to secure the pistol. But it's got a little clip on it that's given this. She's one of these really big lady officers,
Oh yeah.
and she's having trouble getting that gun out of his waistband. And,
Oh God.
and it goes off. And it goes off, shoots down and through whatever it shot of his leg.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and the first thing that her partner, her male partner, says, "Put it down." That guy wanted that. Says, "You shot that guy. Don't shoot me with it." And so she
Yeah.
put it.
No kidding.
First thing she did was put the gun on the ground. Then they started checking on him, see how badly he was shot. But the deal was, it was a semi-auto pistol that had one chambered, obviously, because she
Oh
shot
yeah.
him in the leg. Who walks around with a chambered
Well,
pistol? Well, I mean, obviously
well,
you're ready to shoot somebody as
you're
quick as you
supposed.
can
That's what
with
they
it.
tell you. They tell you you're supposed to do, Ellis.
Oh, really?
Um,
You're supposed to have it chambered at all time. I wouldn't do
yes.
that. I'd be waiting to chamber it. That's the best safety, is not to have it chambered.
Well, that is the best safety. I have a Glock that does not. The Glock does not have a traditional safety. It's got a trigger safety.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, a good thing about a Glock is it won't go off accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's got a part of the trigger. The center part of the trigger has a section on it that sticks up. You got to push in before you can pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
But shooting it makes no difference. But you could throw it across the room and it wouldn't go off. Um, the the holsters that I get. The one I have and the one I'm gonna get
Yeah.
has a cover over the trigger. So
Dan says,
yeah,
if
cover
you,
the
yeah, do it on your
yes,
back. Go ahead and give yourself a paralysis, but don't lose
yeah.
your equipment.
Oh well,
Um,
like I say, it would be nuts to put it in front.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Anyway, so back to art. Let's talk about art.
Okay.
Marty's gonna get in here and go, "What is wrong with these rednecks?" Um, the so like I said, when I was submitting, they said, "Well, you're being too cartoony," and then so
Hmm.
I started. I would emulate what I saw in the comics, and so I was trying to do a Brian Hitch kind of style with lots of shadows, lots of renders, and about the time I was doing that, guys like Scotty Young were popular with really cartoony styles. When I
Hmm.
do a cartoony, it's supposed to be real. I found like I was always kind of chasing a style, and so part of that was, and so as a result of that, I kind of became like a an accumulation of influences.
Hmm.
And so one thing I've done is I've kind of gone back, and so it's interesting we're talking about this because I've gone back and been like when I was younger, what was the stuff that I liked? That's what kind of what I'm
Hmm.
going back to. And it's funny because I'll find where I have like in that art folder, I have art saved by people. It's like, well, why did I ever save this? I don't really even like this that much,
Yeah.
you know. or and so I think the free that trying to break in caused me to have a lot of, if you want to say, anxiety about art and the artists that I looked at and the stuff I liked, and it caused me to probably expand that probably a little too much, in my opinion. Anyway, so, but I do have. I mean, one of these books I've had since I was a kid. Well, several of these books I've had since I was a kid that I'm going to show you. And Mario,
Excellent.
if Mario
Well,
ever shows up.
you've got such a cool art library anyway, and you're always lucking out on some of the.
Yeah,
you've got obscure stuff. It's pretty cool. The stuff that you just either lucked out on or you went searching for that nobody else would probably be looking for it. But you, when you do find it, you usually find some lucky price on it or something like that.
yeah. Well, one is I go to too many bookstores, but also a lot of stuff I've collected over a long time, and so I'll see it and you know grab. I mean,
Yeah.
I grabbed like all those Mobius books in the '90s,
Oh man, yeah, that's
and
smart. I
and
wish I had all the
and
Lieutenant Blueberry back when they were publishing them.
yeah, I don't have all those, but and I didn't bring it. I could have brought that as part of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the other day they sent us home for a snow day, and I read the Airtight Garage while I was drinking
Uh,
coffee, and you know, I have all those epic Marvel epics. And, in the '90s, I was buying those stuff for. I don't think I paid more than $10 a book for those.
wow.
I think that's less than cover price, and I've got. Back. I got all of them, and then I got duplicates of some of them because I went to an estate sale and they were selling them for like $3 a piece. So I bought
Couldn't pass
everything they
that up.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Those are awesome.
But
Yeah.
see,
When those,
$5, man.
yeah.
And these, and I've got all of them, and I've got duplicates of several of them.
Totally out of print, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they,
Long.
they talked about reprinting some of this Mobius stuff, but I think COVID kind of killed that idea. And the stuff they've done, I've got In the Gardens of Edena, and I've got the Inkle, but
Hmm.
they did that Major Grubert book, and it's not even it. I thought it'd be the Airtight Garage stuff, but it's not.
Hmm.
I'd love to have. I have 2 copies of the Airtight Garage, but I'd like to have a really nice one. That's kind of his. To me, that's kind of his seminal work, I guess, or whatever. It doesn't. I don't think it has the best art. The best art is some of that like Long Tomorrow stuff.
Yeah, the Long Tomorrow is an interesting thing to think about, isn't it? It's like that came along right before Blade Runner, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yeah, I
it
believe so.
kind of presaged and said, "Hey, this is where we're going to go for the next 40 years. We're going to let Alexander
Yeah.
Jodorowsky guide us on what we ought to be thinking about."
Yeah. Let me see.
Nice. He's
Oh
talking
yeah.
about all those great books you've got. Yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
More
this
this for
is.
long tomorrow. Great stuff.
Yeah. His style. I mean, I know you always recognize his style, but his style really changes
Oh, he
quite
can.
a
Well,
bit.
just stack it up against Lieutenant Blueberry. He's trying to be.
Oh yeah.
As far as I can see, is he's trying to say, "I'm going to channel Mort Drucker because I love Mort Drucker," and it looks a lot like
I, I,
the Mad magazine.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if he was influenced by Mort Drucker, but yeah,
Oh, I think Mort Drucker. Yeah, I sometimes that makes me sad that Mort Drucker got completely absorbed by Mad Magazine because I love that guy's art. The few things he did in comics are just like, who's doing this? It's like because the composition and everything was just so spot on. He was a killer when he
oh sure,
was having to
yeah,
work at something else.
yeah. I'm not
And
debating.
and it shows in all the things he did for Mad too. But he's also, yeah, Yeah, his comic
Yeah.
work was outstanding. Yeah, it was.
Well, I didn't know if his influence had reached over to France. Is my only thought.
Oh, you don't think so? I think so.
But I don't know.
I don't know. Well, maybe they're more like contemporaries. I don't know. But, obviously Drucker comes out of
So I
William
have.
Gaines and all that, so he would have been right. I'm not even sure if he ever did an EC comic, but other than maybe one of the war ones or something like that. But
Well, and Mad.
and Mad, yeah, that's EC.
So
it is.
I got these books. I don't know what I paid for these. I may have paid cover for these.
Chaos.
These came out in the 90s, and I got them probably about the time my wife got out of school, so I had a little bit more cash than normal. 92. These are like Mobius art.
Let me focus on you. Let me make you the whole
you
deal. Solo layout. There we go. Oh yeah. There we go. Now people don't have to look. Oh yeah. Very good. If you paid cover for that, you probably still got a deal.
Yeah, it was $18.95. I hardcover. This would be a lot more.
Like I say, everything.
I think this is the one I like better. I love this cover, this Chaos cover. Oh, I got a big screen up there. I didn't realize how much you could see.
Oh yeah, I got you the whole spread.
One of these. Let me see if I can find. Is it this one or the other one? Oh yeah, I always loved it. Do you ever use any of the design markers?
Yeah, on occasion. Yeah.
I don't think they make those anymore, but I mean, when I see that picture, I can smell that marker. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's but
that
that makes them mixable. That's why they don't, do that.
But this is just all kinds of like, just I don't know what you'd call it.
Spot illustrations.
Spot illustrations.
For Metal Hurlant idea sketches.
No, this is not. I don't think this is Metal Hurlant stuff. I think it's. I don't know what it's from.
Pilot.
I think he did a lot of advertising art and stuff too, Ellis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. And there's no explanation in here.
But there is? There is no explanation? It doesn't have a bibliography thingamajigger?
Nope, nothing. Huh. So this, I saw this before I was trying to break into comics. Because, I got this and just like, man. In fact, one of the first couple of Mobius books I got were those. But I'll go back. You want to go first or you want me to go first? Okay, I talked about Mobius. You talk about something else.
Okay, I'll talk about the only thing I am going to talk about. Let me share the screen. Bring it up to where I don't have to refresh it anymore. And share the screen. Oops. Add to stage. There it is. I wanted to discuss the personal trip I went on with. There was a paperback. I'll have to kind of like ignore what were some of those book covers. Yeah, they probably were. Dan, I'm going to be covering you up while I get to my previewer.
Before you go into this, Mario is not trying to get in this.
Do not see him presently.
Okay.
And I will be covering it up. So if he sits there and says, hey, look at me. Hey, I'm down here. Anyway, this is came from the paperback ERB, Master of Adventure, or something like that. I think that's what it was called. Okay. And this was the first one I took on. The interior illustrations I Xeroxed and blew up the interior illustration, and this is the first one I did. And I was just looking at poster board at the grocery store today because that's what I did them on. And right now I'm using backer board, which is the same stuff. It's like it's slick on one side and got tooth on the other side.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, I used the slick side because I wasn't smart enough not to. And I'll have to look up the year this came out. because we couldn't
So,
just know exactly what year I was doing this.
so did you copy it to the?
Not
Did
only
you?
copy, well, what I did was I just come across the concept of scaling up, and I instantly understood that, well, yeah, if you put a grid of squares over this, then your square, as long as it's a square, when you put it on another piece of paper, you can get it large. And so
Oh yeah.
so this thing, I did this thing the size of a piece of poster board. If you can imagine that image being the size of a piece of poster board. And what that did, because all I was doing was I would have the point of, say, like his eye socket might occur, a half inch away from the grid where he was at. And then I'd have to say, okay, and I'd use my eyeball. There was, that I could get in fairly accurate by having a big grid, but I still had to eyeball where to put things down. So I generalized where everything was at, and I was proud of that when I realized I had the whole thing. But then I got in close. I'd go in and I'd try to get all that draftsmanship, like that monkey has got that form following bit of hatching that goes around all those muscles while he's in that squat. And this stuff, and I never got over the dappling light effect of when I did that, when that wolf down there in the bottom, is such a perfect silhouette and everything. It's so pleasing. And so I did that, and it's like, oh, I got to have more. It's just flowing into me at that point.
Yeah.
Frazetta, and then I did this one, and this is, I think, if I remember, it's called Jubal the Ugly. He's big.
Oh,
yeah.
He's,
I think his name is David Ellis or something like that. Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of stuff. But of course, here, you've got all the anatomy you'd ever want for a back or a front. And of course, that great semi-nude down there. It's classic Frazetta. And plus, you're getting your first exposure. I mean, you're just dig in the fact that hey, this is teaching me hatching, all that hatching that went on those rocks down there and everything. That's Frazetta adding all that appealing hatching. And I, as much as I may have absorbed of this, it was just scratching the surface. It's not going straight into your bag of tricks just because you've done it once. And then I did this one. And this one, I really dug this one too, because this has got all of these moments where the creature has that sort of, like where he's coming out of the water there. He's got all of that hatching following his form of his old webbiness, as he rises from the water. It's like a root system or something running over him. And of course, that fantastic female figure, and just the stylistic touch there of like, if there's one thing Frazetta just kills on every time he touches the page, it's vignetting. He is just the perfect guy for adding a little like compositional touch that. So that was a big deal to me. That was just a paperback. Oh, wait a second. Dan says, guys, I got to run. I have to check on something for tomorrow. Talk to you soon. Dan, thanks for coming by.
See you, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Dan.
So I got that off.
So you copied, when you say copied these, you mean you drew them and copied them?
I drew them to copy them. I had a grid on top of a Xerox of them, blown up Xerox, and then I actually just crossed them up real good with the squares, to establish a nice little square area, and then
keep the proportions.
Run your line up through it, and do as many squares as you want on that image, and then on your side do the exact same thing, but blow yours up to take all the room up, and that was my main art lesson from that period. didn't do me any good. There's me drawing Vampirella, for instance, in one of those drawn in quarters. But
Oh,
you can see the influence. And
yeah,
here's
yeah.
me doing painting and then touching up the digital painting. There you go. You can see the Frazetta influence. Here
Oh,
you can see
yeah.
the Frazetta influence. I mean, this is stuff that the reason, yeah, then there's obvious that is actually copied. It's compositionally, you could say, from a creepy cover where a guy's surrounded by wolves or cats
Oh, yeah.
that are circling him, and just that composition. And of course, we're talking about that era of Warren magazine. There was, oh, I got to share this one. It's stop screen. Now present and share a screen. Okie dokie. Weird-Ohs. And this one, think about Warren's mistake of making this one of the first stories he published. It's like every copy that came after Creepy is like, when are they going to do something as good as Werewolf again? It's just like you reach the top with this Frazetta, just top of his game. And that's it. Every panel on this is just beautifully composed, just clarity, good reads, great anatomy, great character design. It's just killer. I mean, that bottom left scene where this guy shot from a low angle, low camera placement, shooting that snake. Just everything about that is just so well composed. It knocks you out. Yeah, I mean, just think about the angles that are going on. Low angle to the panel above it, and then he's top down looking over the shoulder. And then that snake's coming up. It's just this whole page is just as killer as anything with a monster on it. I tell you, the two great little. Hey, I'm talking to myself. I've lost Scott. I got to go back and see what happened to Scott. Let's see. Add to stage. Sorry, Scott.
That's okay. I got kicked out for just a second.
Well, you stayed kicked out. Okay,
well, I got kicked out once I was kicked out, but I didn't miss. I lost sound for just a second.
Okay. Well, I was just talking about how great this issue of the first Creepy issue was. It's like
the werewolf story.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say this, because when you were saying this, I realized back in the 90s,
I may have done it when I did that to the thing. Are you still there, Scott? You're showing, but you had a quick little glitch when I got rid of my screen that I was sharing. I wonder if I'm causing it by thinking my computer can handle things like turning this or that off. Scott? Oops, sheesh. Add to stage. Oh, you're back now. Hey.
I don't know why I got kicked out again.
Yeah, it's weird.
I didn't get a phone call or anything. I may have got an email. That may have done it. I've gotten a lot of the billionaire. I mean, I've probably gotten 30 emails a day today from the billionaire. So
my goodness sakes, that guy,
Dude.
just for as much of he has to imagine himself. If I were to bug somebody this much, how much would I be paying them for my time?
But it's not just me. I mean, the stuff I was on today. I mean, I wish I could read you.
Yeah.
The
non-disclosure.
emails.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I just wish. I mean, it's on my phone. I mean, I wouldn't read it on here, but just the emails. And dude, I was on an email day that he sent it to 40 people. And so everybody's responding. I mean, have you heard of this? What is it? The Stargate thing that Trump is doing?
Yes,
It's part of it. We're part of that.
Wow. Cool.
I mean, it's like, wait a minute, what?
Anything AI,
Crazy.
it's probably kind of easy to find yourself bundled into uh,
Yeah.
AI happenings right at the moment.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, if this takes off, I will have got in on the perfect time.
hmm
But yeah, he owes me a lot of money. Anyway, so you were talking about Frazetta's, or you talking about
influence on
Frazetta
me. Yeah, yeah, that was
when
my
when I
biggest
was
influence.
when I started at my job. I would go to the library at lunchtime, and the Dell City Library carried these. They were Edgar Rice Burroughs books, and it was two. I think they were the Mars books.
Hmm.
There was two of them in a book, so it'd be the first one, the second one, and they were illustrated by Frazetta. And
Hmm.
so I, having a job where they have a copier, actually I found this in my files while you were looking. I looked for
Oh
right
yeah,
down here. I copied. I don't know if you can see these.
oh yeah, yeah.
These
I'll make you a
these
solo.
these are Frazetta because I just thought they were so cool. Now, see, when you said copied, I thought you meant literally copied, but I copied them
Well,
with the copier.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I did. And see, all you have to do there is have a perfect square grid running over that. A grid of squares,
Yeah,
and just go over to another piece of paper and make sure your grid is using squares, and you should be able to translate what
yeah.
uh,
I
what you
mean,
see.
so I think I
Yeah,
checked
this
out.
yeah this is all the Mars and the
Now
John Carter.
there wasn't a ton of illustrations per book, but I copied them. Some of these I cut out.
Yeah, yeah,
How cool is that, man?
that is awesome. Yeah,
Oh, this apparently this one.
yeah, you were pasting it down on something or something. Yep.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh yeah, those are great. Like I said, I probably right click save that 100 times.
Well, this was pre-internet, dude.
Yeah.
I just went there and I'd check out one or two of them and take them back to work and flip to the uh, flip to the illustrations and copy it.
I'm
You
gonna find
know.
out when that
Oh, look at
paperback.
that, man.
Let me look. Oh yeah, yeah. All those. He was so great. Who can improve on what he did for those Barsoom character
So,
designs? You just can't
the
do it.
only person that come close would be Michael Whelan. Michael
Yeah,
Whelan
yeah.
did a good job on those covers, but he never did any pen and inks.
Master of Adventure, The Worlds of Edgar Rice Burroughs. Trying to find because they've got a huh. Richard A. Lupoff. That's who I associate with
Oh
it, but
yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
Let's see the paperback, mass market paperback from $10. Ah, there we go. There's your time. 1968 is when it came out. So I would be 53, 53, 68.
Anyway, that when you were talking about that, that made I go, I copied them all, but I didn't copy. You did it the right way. I did it the lazy way.
Well, no, no, but a lot. That's exactly what I'm talking about, though. Is I'm saying that the extra effort. We're talking about what influenced us and things that were important to us as artists. The other thing that was important to me as an artist was I don't know who told me to use Bridgman, but I picked up a Bridgman book, and it probably was the one that mainly involved itself with showing the lever action and
Oh, the human machine.
the human machine. And I just copied several pages, and it's so fun to later discover that Frazetta took that
Yeah.
home, and then he, by the time he was done copying with it, of course it's being run through a different filter when you're running it
Right.
through
Yeah.
Frazetta.
Yeah.
And he knew his anatomy like overnight once he
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so that made me pull this out. I got a folder called Style, and it's
Hmm.
all the and it's me copying all this stuff. Look, this I copied this this.
That's something I'll just open up, that I've got a stupid folder that's incorrectly called style, my style. It's styles I like. It's not my style.
Yeah.
I've got a million of them though.
Well, that's what this is stuff that I saw. So here's apparently some of the books had Roy G. Crinkle. I probably didn't even know who he was at the time, but I
Yeah, that's
copied him. I don't.
huh.
This must be the Venus books, I think. Yeah, that doesn't look like. That's Burroughs, though. I would think. Yeah. Let's see. Let me see if there's anything else interesting in here. Just all kinds of. Because when I went to school, they were like, you got to have a morgue file.
Uh-huh.
And so immediately I was like, oh, you guys got a copier? Yeah, even in school, I was always like, hey, I'm gonna use the copier to copy. Oh, there's some William Kaluta.
Oh yeah. William or Michael?
Uh, Michael Kaluta. Sorry.
Yeah.
There's no William Kaluta.
Well, there's a who might you have been conflating him with? I'm trying to think. William Stout, maybe. I don't know.
No, probably not. I was unfamiliar with William Stout at that point. So, okay, so you talked about Frazetta.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about. I'll go here first.
Okay.
The obviously John Byrne.
Oh yeah.
Anybody that's watched this knows John Byrne's a huge influence on me. Still is. As a kid, I loved John Byrne. Interestingly, his X-Men art is not my favorite stuff right now. I appreciate his older stuff, but I loved so like this would have been a book that I read as a kid, X-Men 130, and what I dug about John Byrne is, and a lot of it has to do with how Terry Austin inked it. I love all these metallic tones in here. I showed you that thing that I liked, that I had in my styles folder, that was like the rhythm, just the design. I love that kind of stuff, and I have since I was a kid, and I love just how he depicted these textures of the uniforms and the metal of the armor and the and a lot of that came from Terry Austin. I've realized now. I'll tell you, there's an example here of something I love. I don't know if you can see this. Professor Xavier is in the danger room, he's kind of controlling it, and he's got this fake computer panel, and I dig that stuff. I just because it doesn't. It's I think of this as like retro tech. Even in the 80s, nothing really looked like this. But to me, it's just so cool looking. And I always throw that stuff in whenever I can. And I'll talk about that kind of stuff and the textures.
So that kind of world building is, you do pick up on that kind of stuff, and that really goes in deep,
Yeah, and even like here, there's some sort of device shooting probably flames, and it's got a little bit of like reflection of the metal. As a kid, I was really enamored with like surfaces and how do you depict surfaces. Even up here where he shows the trees. I don't know if you can see that, the trees. This is a great page. And later I learned to appreciate how he put a figure together. John Byrne has a real specific way that kind of comes out of like the John Romita, John Buscema kind of way of, the Marvel house style. But he added that sheen that I really liked. Now what I don't like is how clean it is, which is kind of a contradiction in terms. But so this is this is a fairly new book, so I didn't have this as a kid. But what I did have fairly young, I bought this, and this is the trade paperback of the Dark Phoenix saga. I read these individual issues when they came out. I bought this probably in the summer of '85. I bought it at a used bookstore. I saw it, and I wasn't reading comics at the time, but I saw this. I couldn't resist. And I bought it, and I don't know if you can see this, but I've had it so long the corners are rounded off. I carried this, dude.
Amazing.
I carried this book with me all through art school. I mean, I've read this hundreds of times. Carried it all through art school. I carried it when I got my job. I took it to work with me. Now this one is what I call my retired copy because it's signed by John Byrne and Chris Claremont. I got it signed at New York Comic Con a couple of years ago. And this, but I mean, this sits on my desk right up here, right up there all the time. But I mean, just really influenced the way I drew comics. I looked at that all through, and I was in school. But so when I was a kid, at one point, I got the movie Blade Runner came out.
Yeah.
And I was in, let's see, it would have been 82, maybe 83, something like that.
It is. Yep.
I spent a good part of the summer in Michigan. My grandmother was widowed when I was a little kid. She remarried a man that lived in Michigan, and they would spend the summer up there and the winters down here, in Oklahoma. Well, so we went up there one time to see him. So we was up there. So I was stuck. He lived on a farm, and I hated it. There weren't any other kids around. Just my brother and sister and I. We brought our Atari. We went to the store, and I bought a magazine that was like the official Blade Runner magazine, and it had concept art in it. Concept art was by a guy named Sid Mead.
Yep.
Not long after that, I acquired this book, Studio Image, the Sid Mead book. These go for big bucks.
Oh yeah. I used to have 3 or 4 of them. Yep.
Yeah, I think there's 3 of them. I don't think there's a 4th one, but
yeah, maybe not.
But I mean,
I had them. I had them then.
Yeah, whatever you had them, right?
Yep.
But I mean, this, and again, I really dug his drawing. In some ways, is kind of similar to John Byrne.
Well, yeah, he's from the Cal. What is it? I guess it's just called Cal. Oh, you went again. You gone again, and you were our entertainment. Hey, I hear kind of a hiss from you. There you are. You're back, maybe.
Oh, I got a phone call. My mom calling. You can call my wife.
There you go. So,
I've told everybody. She called me at work today. She goes, I was calling to see what was going on. I go, well, I'm at work today. Oh, I knew you were going back to work because I was off the last 2 days. Anyway, I just loved how he draws cars. I love how, and so this is what I was going to show you. It's very similar to how John Byrne draws these computers and stuff. Just kind of a fake, a little more realistic.
Oh, I'm sure Byrne was aware of. I'm sure Byrne would have known about him.
Sid Mead was an influence on him. And in my mind as a kid, there was a lot of overlap. Now looking, I doubt Sid Mead had a clue who John Byrne was, but
no. Sid Mead was a pretty approachable guy. I remember hearing him talk a couple times. He was pretty down to earth. You could talk to him.
But in this one, he's drawn these aliens. I don't know what he drew them for. There's a chapter in here called Aliens, and it looks like some of John Byrne's aliens. I mean, so I had this book. I had this one when I was a kid. A couple years later, we used to get these at work. Me and another guy, we get these. It's kind of like Hamilton books, but I don't know what it was called. But it was just a catalog you'd get in the mail, and it had these books in it that you could order. And they were usually cheap. It was remaindered stuff, and so I got the other 2 in there for a song.
Yeah, that's great. But that I tell you what, you're looking at that stuff and those all those designs. There is going to be a touch of that sort of style in everybody that comes out of. I looked it up just now. Art Center is what they call it. Yeah. It's Los Angeles, and it's it puts them out. That's where you're going to get most of your concept artist guys. Have been touched by Art Center one way or the other.
San Francisco.
I believe it's I don't know if
So
there
they,
is, but there is definitely one in L.A.
okay. Well, there's one. There's some kind of art thing that does concept art in San Francisco. Because one of the guys at my work went there for like a year.
Hmm.
But and we've
Well,
talked about
yeah,
this
and
a lot.
everybody, in that sort of realm is going to be aware of what everybody else is doing. But yeah, it's what do you call that when it? It's like you almost wish it wasn't a factor. It's like what do you call that? Where you have you marry your sister,
Overexposure? No, no. What? Wait,
marry
what?
your sister. What do you call that?
I don't know.
Incest, or I don't
Oh,
want to say incest. What do I want to say?
oh
I guess
yeah,
that's it.
yeah. Just kind of everybody copying everybody kind of
Yeah, yeah.
style. Yeah, but anyway, I haven't looked at these books in years.
Yeah, they're
Because
pretty awesome.
now,
You might study them all over again because I tell you what, like you say, those interiors, that's something he does like nobody else. The only guy I can think of that also got used a lot by the movie industry for concept art is old Ron Cobb,
oh
and
yeah,
he's
oh yeah,
obviously a
he's
guy
got a
that
book. I need to buy that book of his.
yeah.
He's got a book that just came out. Yeah. But Sid Mead has a book, and I've got it in the other room called. It's got all his movie art in it, which is
Hmm.
really cool. Um, Ironically, this is concept art for Princess of Mars. I don't know who was.
Who
I don't
was
know
thinking about
who
developing
was
that.
thinking about it. Which, by the way, this doesn't look anything like what I picture anything of Burroughs looking like.
Yeah. No, no.
But
That's the
whatever.
deal. Yeah, you can have a fantastic artist, but another guy that does things with cutout paper might be
Yeah, my
who Pixar decides. Yeah, he gets it right here. This is what we're
Well,
going
Sid
with.
Mead, his style is so overpowering, I
Uh
think, that he's right for some projects, but like
huh. Yeah,
Burroughs, no,
yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
But I mean, I love all this
That sort of thing.
tech
Yeah,
stuff.
you could
Oh
just build
yeah,
that that's for Alien or whatever. Yeah.
aliens. Yep, yep. Good call. But I mean,
But
I
yeah,
love.
there's the Nostromo right there. Some of it. Uh, back when you were that
Oh
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I anyway. So Sid Mead, and like I said, I've got other books of his. I bought a And that same thing, I bought this book. I think this book is kind of pricey. And his stuff was really hard to get for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh
with that,
yeah.
this was in that magazine, Future Concepts of Sid Mead. This is a Japanese book, man.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm gonna look up when Sid Mead died. Let's see,
It was a few years ago.
Sid Mead died. Where's I'm right here.
But
And
now,
maybe
like with
he might not be dead. That'd be funny.
no, 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 he's dead. I remember when he passed away.
Yeah, born blah blah. Artist in residence at Pasadena. Yeah, it's close to Pasadena. Yeah, Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. Yeah.
Oh, here's some Blade Runner stuff.
2019.
Yep.
So that wasn't
Oh
that
yeah,
long ago. 6 years
that
ago.
magazine that I had as a kid had
All that great
this
Blade
draw
Runner.
some of this. It had the parking meter. I don't think it had the ambulance. It had this painting though.
I had a copy of LA Weekly that I got it real time of the weekend magazine that came with the LA Times, and it was Sid Mead doing the cover, a futurist vision of LA.
Oh, you
And
know what?
I had
Some
that
of those
for ages.
drawings were in here.
Yeah, I had that
Uh,
for ages.
it was called like Malibu. One of them was called Malibu 2035 or something like
Uh-huh.
that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let me see if I bet I can find that because immediately I was like, oh, that's California.
Hmm.
Let's see which
Sid Mead's
one.
California.
Oh, right here,
That,
right here, right
yeah,
here.
that may have been it.
Yep. This
Yep,
had
that kind of
LA.
stuff.
Oh, 2015. LA 2015 downtown street
Uh huh.
and
Does it have
Malibu.
anything in color featuring that
No,
work? Okay.
no, no. That's the bad things. A lot of this is black and white, and I feel like it was probably color when it was probably originally in color.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, nope. I thought I had the Blade Runner magazine over here. I do not. No, I do not. So that's that. And so kind of in that, so those two artists, as a kid, I saw that they were kind of, in my mind, they were connected. I mean, not really. So a little bit later, more like the mid 90s. So in school, let me go back a little bit. In school, I was exposed to Akira.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Kennedy brought a copy of Akira to school to show the class, because he felt like it was groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
A few years after graduation, in fact, my wife and I are going on vacation. I go to the comic shop and I buy a trade paperback copy of Ghost in the Shell to read on the plane. Now, this is not the trade. I got the trade somewhere around here. This is they've reprinted it as a hardcover deluxe version.
Awesome.
But I mean, and I know it's a different kind of thing, but I mean, to me, this all kind of ties together. There's in my mind, I have kind of this unified theory of John Byrne, Sid Mead, and Masamune Shirow. I don't know how, but I like. I mean, obviously, the people are a lot more cartoony in this,
Mm-hmm.
but there's the tech is very similar.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find something, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was influenced by Sid Mead for sure.
Oh, those guys are sponges. The anime guys. They get exposed to everybody. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Let me go grab one more thing.
Okay.
At one point, I picked up this book. So I can get this, I'm killing myself.
We've actually
gone over now.
Look at that. We have. I'm surprised. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Have you ever seen this?
No. What is that? Intron Depot.
Yeah, it's a collection of Masamune Shirow's full color works. So I saw this about the time I bought all of the Mobius stuff, and it's basically mechs and girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pin up mech art.
Yeah, but I mean, some cool stuff.
That's great. That's the thing you crack open when you're about to do something even vaguely like it yourself. Yep.
Yeah.
Get some ideas flowing. Do some copying.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to share one more Frazetta thing before we quit.
Sure. Yeah, I think I'm about done. So yeah.
Okay. This is a no. That's cool. I think I bet we'll get a good reaction to this. If I tag it right, I got to do the tags though.
With all the names of the artists we talked about.
Yeah, sure. God, I'm not going to be able to get a good shot of this. The Solar Invasion. Let me solo myself. This well, it might help if I took it out of this plastic it arrived in. I bought it for $10 because Frazetta girls were talking about this as one of Frazetta's personal favorites. And it just happens to be not a particularly good reproduction of the painting, but this was one of Frazetta's early favorites, where he said, "Hey, I'm pretty damn good." He really liked what he did with the females on it. He liked their faces as one thing. And a lot of what he's probably digging is how much he left out and how appealing they got the moment he left them into the area of mystery in terms of like how you do a face. And none of my camera is totally crap when it comes to showing how cool this is. And of course and it just happens to be by a guy. I started an email chain, us discussing Manly Wade Wellman, who was a well-known guy who wrote about a guy that traveled around Appalachia called Silver John. who
Oh,
just
yeah.
just happens to kick up. He was a little bit like Hellboy. He just happened to kick up all these people having trouble with supernatural things from hell or whatever, and he was there to help you because he just happened to know a little bit about how to deal with these demons that were encroaching on Appalachia.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to actually reading the thing, and it's kind of cool to have that cover. Obviously, it's the vintage of when it came out. I guess it's Ace. Let me check. I'm gotta scrounge up my glasses again, make sure they aren't on my head. What did I do
Not
with
on
them?
your head. I can
Not
verify
on my
that,
head.
Ellis.
There they are. Try not to break them. I broke a pair the other day.
Oh, no.
It's popular paperback. Yeah, maybe that's why the printing's so bad. I've never even heard of popular paperback.
I've heard of popular.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that was cool, Scott. Let me get rid of solo screen. Got way too much of me right at the moment. There we go. I've got this set up because I don't know if you notice, I'm in the living room. It's
I didn't notice, but it looked a little different. Oh, yeah. I noticed the window behind you.
Yeah, it's different, and it's because I've got that new M4 Mac Mini, which I've used just barely, and I've got in order to stick it in a place where it would be easily used, I stuck it back where this one was, and
gotcha.
And so it's like all of a sudden this becomes the new spot to figure out where the good angles are at, and I haven't figured it out yet. So I'm still working on it. So groovy.
So, yeah, that was. I thought that was good. It was. I'm glad I pulled out some of this stuff. Like I said, I hadn't looked at those Sid Mead books in forever.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to see them. And it's interesting when you talk through some of that stuff. I mentioned earlier about how in pursuing, comic publishing or whatever, I was obsessed with this idea of like a style. It has to be a certain style. Mm-hmm. And I've since realized, just recently really realized it's like, well, maybe I don't need to worry about that, which, people always tell you don't worry about that, but
and that's a lot of what people will, they're looking for words, they're looking for ideas to give to you when they're doing things like evaluating you. And it's like the idea that they're actually going to come up with the perfect words that give you the idea of what they're even thinking. For instance, these guys that are telling you you look too cartoony for them, what they were saying, this just doesn't appeal to me. And their words for why it doesn't appeal to them, they're just not going to do that work on why it doesn't appeal to them.
Right.
They're not going to tell you everything they don't think is right with you.
You can't get something that subjective.
Yes.
Out of somebody that either you're submitting to or an editor.
That you're the 15th in line of talking to them. Yeah.
So, and also they don't really even know what they're looking for a lot of times. And so what I've realized is like, well, I should just focus on drawing, let the stuff that I like influence me. And like I said, I've probably cast too wide of a net in terms of like, I like this person and this person. Mm-hmm. Nothing's wrong with liking artists, but I try and guard my influences because I don't want it to become too wishy-washy or whatever. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I think anybody that sees this will probably look at my art and go, "Oh, these people influence you? You don't look like any of that. You don't look anything like this." And that's okay. Because part of it's filtered through your own lens.
Well, I think I told you about this YouTube artist. He's just this great artist. And I wish I could think of his name off the top of my head, but he comes out of the, as a matter of fact, it was Fred Fixler that told him this, the great Riley student that really taught everybody at the Thousand Oaks School that I I was happy that I went to for a little bit. And Fixler told this really good painter, when will I know I'm ready to go pro, in terms of like getting out there and the advertising thing and all that.
Yeah.
And Fixler said, I'll tell you when you're ready. And all he was looking for, he wasn't looking for this or that from his style. He was looking for his consistency.
Yeah.
The moment he got consistent, that he could say, okay, I'm gonna start from scratch, and it's gonna look like this when I'm done. And it's like, well, you've got it. You've got what you need to go out there and not have a nervous breakdown when you do it. Yeah, because it will give you a nervous breakdown. I mean, these guys make a ton of money, or used to, back in the day, to do any ancillary Hollywood stuff like a movie poster. You'll make a lot of money, but they will drive you nuts getting it to their specifications. So you got to be ready for that. It's like, oh well, crumple that up, throw that away.
And that's why I say I think there's a danger in letting everything influence you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be, not that you can't look at everything, and not that you can't appreciate a lot of artists, but I think if you're like, and I think this is what I ran into some, is you kind of end up getting a little confused about what you're trying to do, and you're chasing something, and you don't get consistent. You lose that consistency.
Well, the deal is you want to be the guy who is just cranking. And I feel like what you're reaching for is to just be cranking on what is it? I thought, oh, that's a cat. I saw something trying to come up behind me, and I wondered if I was going to have a jump scare all of a sudden.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? Watch it happen now.
While we're talking, I send Dave over to your house to bang on your back.
That'd be bad. But I forget what I was talking about now.
Damn. The consistency and
I was telling you what you should be doing. I was saying that you need to be just cranking what you do out. You need to be just thinking about publish on demand books that you cranked out and got them sitting on Amazon that you finished, period. As a matter of fact, all this stuff that got orphaned by everybody you've ever worked with, you need to put out a big book of that stuff,
Yeah. You
have been orphaned a couple of times, you need to put out a big book of all that stuff. It was work that you put a lot into.
Yeah, I need to have like a orphan comics anthology.
Yeah, there you go. There's the brand name right there, Orphan.
We're
the orphans. You recognize that term? That's the gang, the least of the gangs in the Warriors, the movie The Warriors. We're the orphans. Yeah. Everybody's heard of the orphans.
Yeah. Let me say this, and then we'll stop, since I think we've gone quite a while.
Yeah.
I had a editor one time tell me, or maybe the publisher, a small press publisher, say, your style is like a secret language only you know, and when you learn it, when you master it, everyone will understand it.
That is correct. You get guys that won't even be able to tell you what they're thinking when they do it. You'll get some fan that'll ask him, "What are you doing there?" Just, I don't know. It's like, but
Okay, are you ready? I'm ready.
I'm ready. We'll end the stream. Thanks everybody for joining us. Maybe we'll get a few more extra views with all the thumbnails. I'll have to tag it and thumbnail it.